Hello everyone, welcome to the lesson on cells. In this video, we will learn about how all the living organisms are made up of cells. At the end of this video, you will be able to define a cell, recall the discovery of cell, and also you will be able to explain how cells vary in number, shape, as well as in size. So before getting in detail about cells, let's see some basic differences between living things and non-living things. Yes, I understand you all know the differences between non-living things and living things. But before getting into detail about cells, I want you to just recall about non-living things and living things once. Non-living things, they don't have life, they cannot grow, they cannot breathe, that means they cannot respire, they cannot reproduce, that means they cannot give birth to young ones, they cannot move by themselves, and they cannot eat. Now let's see what are the characteristics shown by living things. All the living things have life. They grow and develop in their lifespan. They respire, that means they breathe. They reproduce, that means they give birth to young ones. They show response to their environment, that means if there is any changes in climate, weather, they will show some response to the environment. They eat, and they will be having metabolic process in them. That means they convert the food into energy. Today we will be looking at how living things are made up of cells. I want you to imagine pets at home, animals in jungle, your friends, your family, and trees around you. All these things that I just told you are made up of cells. That's why cells are called building blocks of life. If you are wondering how a cell is called building blocks of life, let me explain you. You can see a picture of building, right? Tell me, how does the building is made up of? Buildings are made up of walls, and they are made up of bricks, right? So we can say bricks are structural unit of buildings, right? And can you imagine a book without pages? No, right? You cannot imagine a book without pages. It may be any book. Books are made up of pages. Similarly, all the living organisms are made up of cells. Cells are structural and functional unit of life. That's why cells are called building blocks of life. Every living organism, however big or small they may be, they are all made up of cells. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Similar kind of cells combine together to form tissues. For example, epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, glandular tissues, etc. And tissues aggregate to form organs. For example, here I have shown you stomach. And organs aggregate to form organ system. For example, here I have shown you stomach and intestine forms digestive system. And many such organ system form an organism. Hence, we can say cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life because all organisms are made up of cells. So, as we all know, every organism performs various functions during its entire lifespan. Say for example, respiration, excretion, reproduction, digestion, etc. And the body has specific organs to perform specific functions, right? Let's see a few examples of organ system in human body. Human body consists of skeletal system, nervous system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and digestive system. Majorly, there are 11 organ systems in human body and they perform various functions in entire lifespan. It looks amazing, isn't it? From such small unit to complex organisms. Okay, I think by now you will be able to define a cell. Let's proceed with discovery of cell. Since we are studying so much about cells, now we shall understand how actually these cells were discovered and who coined the term cell. Cells were first discovered by a scientist called Robert Hooke in 1665. You know what? When Hooke named it as cells, he could observe only dead cells from the bark of a tree using a basic microscope. When he saw through the microscope, he was able to see some small empty spaces containing walls, and he named them as cells just because they were resembling like small compartments. Now we are done with discovery of cell also. Let's understand some of the features of cells. So let's get started. Based on number of cells, living organisms can either be unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. The word uni means one and the word multi means many. There are some organisms which are made up of only one cell, and such organisms are called unicellular organisms. And some organisms which are made up of many cells, and they are called multicellular organisms. Example for unicellular organisms are amoeba and paramecium. And example for multicellular organisms are its humans and animals. As I have already told you, unicellular organisms are made up of one cell, whereas multicellular organisms are composed of more than one cell. In fact, trillions of cells. Unicellular organisms are altogether an individual itself. A single cell performs all the life process like reproduction, locomotion and digestion. Whereas in multicellular organisms, multiple cells perform different functions. Say for example, in humans, there are nerve cells, skin cells, muscle cells, blood cells and other different types of cells to perform different functions. Number of cells can vary depending on the size of an organism, just like an elephant and a dog example. Obviously, elephant will be having more number of cells than dog, whereas size of the cell remains the same. Now we have understood how cells vary in number. Let's move on to the last segment of the video. In that, we shall understand how cells vary in shape and size. Shape of the cell varies in different organisms. The shape of plant cell is different from that of an animal cell. Talking about shape of a cell, unicellular organism named amoeba has no definite shape. It keeps changing its shape. So the shape of amoeba is irregular. Do you know why amoeba changes its shape? It changes its shape to move and eat its prey. If you look at the picture of amoeba, these tiny projections of the amoeba are called pseudopodia. So, with the help of these pseudopodia, amoeba eat its prey and then digest it. Thus, it uses these small projections for locomotion and to capture its prey. On the other hand, in multicellular organisms, cells are of different shape. Let's see a few examples. In humans, red blood cells are spherical and concaved, white blood cells are irregular shaped, muscle cells are spindle in shape, bone cells are star shaped, nerve cells are long and branched, whereas sperm cells are linear in shape. Shape of a cell depends on the function it performs. For example, nerve cells are long and branched. Branched structure of nerve cells helps it to transform the messages to all parts of the body. That's why shape of a cell depends on the function it performs. Coming to the size of a cell, cells are so small in size and they are not visible through the naked eye. Hence, we need a microscope to see them. Microscope is an instrument used to see enlarged view of a cell. Did you know the smallest cell is bacterial cell which measures about 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer, whereas the largest cell is an egg of an ostrich and it measures about 170 millimeter into 130 millimeter in size. And that brings us to the end of the video on cells. If you find the video helpful and want to learn more from me, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share this video with your friends and subscribe to Quickscience. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye.